love riding my bike. I love running. I don't care what they think about it. I love it.
At that point, when I knew I was going to win, chills just went up and down my entire body.
I don't believe there are any good or bad foods. Food is food.
I still feel so passionate about getting that record that I'm like, I'm just going to do it.
As an athlete, I was like, what's my story, or what's your story? What can you learn from it? And what can you teach people?
Welcome to the IronWomen podcast. I'm Alyssa Godesky here with my co-host, professional triathlete, Haley Chura. Haley, we are recording special on a Sunday this week because you have some travel ahead of you to head to T100 London, which I want to chat a little bit about. But first, when we decided to record on Sunday, we pushed things back because we both wanted to chat about Ironman Lake Placid, which happened today. And I feel like it lived up to the expectations we were hoping it would when we were like, let's wait to record the podcast so that we can talk about that.
What a race. Kudos to everyone who raced today. That looked so hard, but also so inspiring. I know you're not all trying to be inspiring, but I was inspired as someone who's entering her own race week. I was just like, this is so cool. Like, I am so glad I get to include myself in this kind of community, in this group of people, because getting to watch the race and seeing how it unfolds and watching people like struggle and come back and just fight for every spot is very, very cool. So congratulations to everyone who raced. It looked like a great day, like a beautiful day, but also a tough day.
Yeah, I think they definitely had like perfect weather for Ironmanning. It was really fun. I really enjoyed, I like when Dee Griesbauer is announcing and stuff, but I did really enjoy Matt Liedo and Meredith Kessler on the commentating booth today. I thought it was super fun to just kind of hear them chit chat. They're clearly like old pals, right? And they were able to tell some fun stories. I thought had a lot of really good insight today. Matt Liedo was like really, I feel like, walking down some memory lanes and was just reminiscing a lot about like his times when he was racing Ironman and like how much faster the racing has gotten, right, in recent years. And I think that kind of stuff is just so interesting because that's what I think of every time I look at what these women are doing. I'm like, holy smokes, 10 years ago, we would not have believed anyone who told us that this was going to be, what someone's running off the bike on a course like Lake Placid, something like that. So really, it was fun to hear them. I think Meredith is like every woman's hype person. Every person, like the men, she does it too. Like she just has this way of being, even when it's not their day, she just like finds these positive spins to like put on things for them. And it was really fun to watch. It made the time fly by for me all day, I feel like.
Yeah, the time flies by, like you said, because everyone is going so fast.
Yeah.
And
you no longer have to wait 9 hours. You only have to wait 8 hours to see the finish line.
Yes. And so we do need to talk. Danielle Lewis won the race. I think it's a little bit of a surprise, I think. She's had some good results, but like this is her first Ironman win and a really big race. And she came out of the swim 15 minutes back and then also had a crash on the bike, but then ran an incredible, 2:52 marathon to win the race. Do I have those stats right?
I think so. I think that's what I caught. And yeah, it was incredible to be watching, right? Like the cameras weren't able to be on the bike course the whole time because service is so bad out there. And so there were kind of what they call dark zones or blackouts or something on the bike zones where they couldn't have, but they did have cameras on her crash. So it was like, whoa, we got to see it. And that was like a legitimate crash, right? That would shake up most people, kind of rattle them, make them, you could go a million different directions in your mind when something like that happens and kind of assume it's just not your day. And it seems like Danielle just did just the opposite. If anything, I don't know if the adrenaline fired her up more and she was more determined than ever to take that race for herself and not let something like that derail the day. But it was cool to see, again, with coverage these days and getting to see moments like that. It's really appreciated by fans of the sport and by people watching. And I forget my other half of that thought, but yeah, I think that's where I was going.
Second place, we can move to second place. Jackie Herring, who backed up her win in Hamburg with a second place here in Placid. Again, her return to the Ironman distance has been very good.
Yeah, she's like, I'll just do a couple of them in 1 month, right?
Right. It's so impressive. And I do think she's approaching this Ironman Pro Series in a really, really smart way. And so it'll be fun to see how things unfold in Nice. And then also, I guess it goes all the way through the 70.3 Worlds in December before we know for sure. But definitely fierce racing for those Ironman Pro Series points. And then third, Alice Alberts, who was last year's champion here in Placid. I felt like third was a really good result for Alice.
Yeah, I was really excited to see her in third because I feel like for whatever reason, people, I mean, she's an two-time Ironman champion, right? But I feel like there's always been, when the commentators would refer to her or something, they'd be like, well, we'll see how she does in this deep field, right? And it's like, come on, you guys, she's a two-time Ironman champion. So I hope that like removes kind of maybe that doubt anyone would have had about her, because you're an Ironman champion. You are in the thick of any field, right? These days that's happening. And so I think that's like a super result for her and hopefully feels very validating for her as well. I will say back to Jackie Herring. Another reason I appreciated having Meredith on the commentary team was that she was like, oh, I'm friends with this person and they're texting me this info, right? So I did think those little tidbits from like Lionel Sanders' wife, right? But one of the people was Jackie Herring's husband, who was like texting with Meredith and being like, she feels like this right now. She feels like that, right? And she said this as she went by. So again, I think we watch all day and so much of what we're seeing from people commentating in those booths is like speculation, right or wrong, right? They're just kind of drawing on their own experiences and what they think they're seeing. But it's fun to have like that inside kind of connection to people on the ground. And especially when the race was this tight, right? Between Sarah True came off or was leading, by a few minutes. And then we were watching Danielle and Jackie kind of run into the podium spots. And we were wondering like, how is this all going to shake out? And you want to know, how is Jackie feeling? Is she like fresh as a daisy and going to run at, 250? What's going to happen?
Right. I know fourth place, Rachel Zelenskis. She did lead. She was right behind Lauren Brandon coming out of the water and then led a lot of that bike course. And I think she was a little unknown going into this because she hadn't raced this year. And did they say, I might have missed that. Did they say why? Had she been dealing with an injury or do we know?
When they referred to it, no, they just said she hasn't raced a full distance since they said she hasn't raced a marathon off the bike since
Kona.
Tremblant. Yeah. Or something.
Or Kona last year. She raced Kona. Yeah. Okay. She did get that Kona slot last year. But I was just curious if they had any insight if she had been dealing with an injury or maybe she just had life stuff going on and decided to wait until Placid to start her season, which obviously worked pretty well. I mean, held on for fourth place. And it was, I have a part of my heart for Rachel since she is a fellow Georgia Bulldog swimmer. And, I think I thought seeing her in the front of the race that early, I was like, oh, this is Rachel's day. Like, this is really exciting. And then of course we had Sarah True come up then on the run leading, which another person that I've really enjoyed racing, our fellow podcast co-host in this feisty triathlon network she's on the If We Were Riding podcast, leading for so much of that run. And when she did first start walking, my thought was, okay, she's fine. She's just walking through an aid station, just like getting some fluids. I was also I was loving her fashion choices. I love running in a sports bra. And I'm like, okay, it is still legal.
Yes.
In Ironman, at least, that's the one downside of T100. I'm like, they make me cover up too much skin. But I was like, okay, yay, Sarah, represent for the sports bra squad. And it was heartbreaking to watch her not be able to finish that race because, I mean, I know how hard she works and she is such an incredible competitor. She's such an incredible athlete and, hard worker, talent in the sport. And it's just Ironman, man. It just like gets you sometimes, right? We've all been there where it's just like everything's going good and then everything's not going good.
Yeah. I was literally just like watching her and so happy and like, and you see it just happens so fast, right? Like she looks good. And then all of a sudden it's like, nope, not okay. And I had, 10 minutes before I was like ready to put my viewing things away to be like, whew, all right. Sometimes the good guys win. Like, yeah, this was a good one. Right. And then I like heard in the background as I was like making something for a meal or whatever. And I'm like, what is going on? She's not walking. And it guts you. And I will say that is what happens when you're racing your hardest, right? Like,
Yeah.
we saw it in the men's race. We saw it, kind of with all of the across the whole field of pros, men and women, right? Like, people are going for broke these days, and it's exciting to watch that, but it is so heartbreaking. It's so heartbreaking to watch that kind of thing happen right in front of you.
I agree, having been there. And I was having this conversation recently with an athlete about pro Ironmans, because she was saying, well, age groupers, invest all this time and money into these races, and that's why they finish. And I'm like, I mean, pros invest a lot of time and money.
Yeah.
I'm like, you don't want to see my bank account. But I will say the difference, one of my differences that I've noticed having race age group, coaching a lot of age groupers and myself racing, is that when you are racing as a pro, especially in some of these championship races, you do take major risks I would never encourage my age group athletes to take. And you go for it, and you're like, I don't know if I can totally hold this pace or if I can stick with this person, but I'm going to see how it goes, or I'm just going to try to win this, and you go harder than you maybe should, or you just go for it. And often that is what it takes to win, is taking that risk and then hoping you can ride that razor edge and stay on the right side of it. But sometimes you fall off, and it's horrible and it's painful. And that's why you see DNFs like that happen. And there's in the pro field, I find there's no shame in a DNF. It is usually because of your health and because you went so incredibly hard, and, it just didn't work out this time, but maybe next time it will. So you just got to test it sometimes.
Yeah. And I mean, sometimes you see pros like walking it in, right? I mean, Jan Frodeno's done that. Meredith Kessler, I've seen walk a 10K of the marathon. And that's instances when it's not their health and they want to finish, right? They get it, like, doing that. But you're right. I think you have to respect what pros are really trying to do. And with the pro series, everything is, I think, kicked up a notch right now. And people are hungry, and we're seeing that. And yeah, but all the best to Sarah. I hope you recover okay. One of the best. So we know you'll be back out there.
Right. And you were leading. I mean,
I know.
it's so awesome. It's so awesome to watch.
I will say, I feel like she listened to my advice on the podcast from last week, where it's like, don't forget, don't spend your pennies before the end of that climb, because it was the end of the second loop where she was like turned on, she hit her NOS button and was like, putting herself more into contention, which was exciting. I was like, yeah, clearly that's my advice.
It did look like a beautiful course, and just like you said, beautiful day. And so congratulations to everyone who raced in Placid. What a fun, kind of point in our North American summer to get that. And again, thank you for the inspiration as I lead into my own race week. I just checked in for my flight, so I have less than 24 hours. Yes.
Okay.
So that's exciting. I, will actually be landing in London on Tuesday, which happens to be my 39th birthday, which is kind of fun.
Yes. I mean, no better way to celebrate a birthday than to be in a race week, I feel like. So this is good.
Yeah, it is. It's like everyone's like, what are you doing for birthday? I'm like, I'm going to London. Very fancy. But Alyssa, I actually have something fun planned for hopefully that evening, because
tell me.
This is a little crazy, but I was watching the WNBA Team USA versus the All-Stars last night, and one of my athletes, Royce, who's very into basketball, was texting me, and she was like, look, they're playing in London. Like they said, like, oh, after this game, Team USA is going to London. And my friend Grace had also said that. She was like, maybe we'll run into the Team USA team while we're in London. I was like, oh yeah, sure. I'm like, London's just like tiny town, right? And you just run into basketball players everywhere there, I guess. But I just like hadn't put this all together. And then Royce texted me like a screenshot where it's like they were playing a game on the 23rd on my birthday at like 8 p.m. and it's Team USA versus Germany, a showcase, the women's basketball team.
Oh, fun.
And it's at the O2, which the race venue for T100 London is like directly across the river, so you have to kind of take a train, but from the O2, it's like so close. And I was just like,
meant to be.
And then Royce is like, there's tickets available. And I was like, oh my goodness. Okay. I need to go do this. I need to go. I'm like, it's too close and everything. So the only thing, barring any like flight delay or anything, I will hopefully be celebrating my 39th birthday by watching Team USA play Germany, and I'm really excited about it.
That's awesome. And I feel like that's the perfect way to get over your jet lag. You'll just go to that. It'll keep you awake, and then you'll be able to like sleep through the night like normal. And boom, Wednesday, you're going to be, you're basically like you're living there.
I hope so. Because that was the only thing, like normally I wouldn't make plans for 8 p.m.
Right.
on a race week. Like there's a piece of me that's like, is this like reckless? But it's so close. And then I'm like, okay, I'm going to have jet lag no matter what. And the other thing is my race doesn't start till 2 p.m. on Saturday. So there's plenty of time to rest between then and that, now, then and then. And I also feel like getting to watch Team USA play is going to help me like get in the competitive spirit. So
yes. And what does the great Taylor Swift say about jet lag anyway? That's like made
choice.
It's a choice.
I mean, again, and Taylor has been to Singapore. I'm like, because that was the time when I went to Singapore, I was like, jet lag is not a choice.
Maybe it's a choice when you flew here on your own private jet.
I mean, Taylor is above all of us. Like we know this about her. So I don't totally hold myself to her level. I'm like, Taylor, jet lag is a choice. For me, jet lag is a little bit more of a reality, but having a 2 p.m. race on Saturday, I'm like, I think I can still get everything done and get some Team USA things and celebrate being 39. And I also won't be the oldest person in this race, shockingly, despite getting older during the week. Annie Haug is racing, and she makes all of us look young and slow, young and
Thank
slow.
you, Annie Haug. Yes.
I'm like, oh goodness. I was like going through the athlete guide. I'm like, is there a lap out rule? Is there a lap out rule? I don't think there is. So that's in my favor.
Yeah, no, that's good. And Haley, so I believe the T100 race will be broadcast on the channels as normal T100 stuff has been, right?
Yes, app? I think the PTO Plus app.
Okay.
And then also there's usually a PTO YouTube that you can find that as well. So, and then you can play it on there. And like I said, I believe 2 p.m. England time is
that's nice time for me. That'll be like 9 or 10 a.m. or something.
Yeah,
right?
I think it's like 10 a.m. for you, 8 a.m. in Mountain Time. So yeah, it's like it's much
prime
better
viewing
than
Singapore. Yeah.
Well, then Singapore or the Olympics.
Oh yeah.
In all honesty, because the Olympics are right around the corner, but I'm like, that's your like 2 a.m. one.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I think very, very kind on their scheduling there for people coming from America, from people viewing in America. Not many Americans on the start list, but just me and Chelsea
still threw us a bone though, so we'll take it.
Yes, and it will be fierce racing. I think it's going to be a wetsuit swim. It's at the Docklands, like, so I think it's like you're not in the Thames, but I think it's like, I don't know, a body of water built near there,
like offshoot of it or something. Okay.
From what I've seen on the map, and it's in the east side of London. So it sounds cold, and then the bike is 8 laps, and it doesn't look too technical. There's some roundabouts, but that was one of my worries, was that it would be like a little too many, like, I think of British streets or London streets as like so many turns, but it does not appear to be that way. And then the run is 3 laps, like right there. We're by the like XL Arena. So I think it's should be good, spectator friendly, get to see a lot. Very, very fierce racing. All the British women. You have Lucy Charles Barclay, India Lee, Kat Matthews, Sophie Coldwell, who did not make the British Olympic team, who'll be racing, and I'm sure Emma Pallant-Brown. I'm missing so many. I'm missing like half the British team, I think, but they all are racing on home soil. Lucy Byram, and that they want to show off for their home crowd. So definitely. And then again, Annie Haug's first stop on the T100 circuit.
It's going to be, I just can't wait for Team USA to take 1 and 2. So we'll no pressure at all, Haley. We unfortunately won't get to hear the wrap up until August, when I get to chat with you again, because just a little reminder to our listeners, we will be on a break, the Olympic break. Is that what we're calling this? The Olympic sabbatical. The Olympic,
Olympic break.
For 2 weeks. over these next 2 weeks. And you can check out the Feisty Media channel handle for all content, but they will be releasing things still through our podcast feed, right? So you don't have to go anywhere. You don't have to worry about anything. It'll just be slightly different through the Olympics. And then Haley and I will be back to catch up on all the things.
Everything.
Everything.
I have to tell you
In
about
a few weeks.
this is like the first basketball game I've gone to since I was like a child.
I'm excited because you can actually prepare me because I am going to the WNBA game in Boston to see Connecticut play. I forget who they're playing, but they're playing.
Is Connecticut still number 1?
I think so.
Ranked in the WNBA? Yeah.
I think
like
so.
they're really good.
Yeah, we are going to Boston for the night. It's like a big night out for like you. It's like 8 p.m. It's like, I don't know about this. And then we drive home. It's gonna be a late one. But I like have had 2 months to mentally prepare for that night. So I'm gonna do it. Right. But you can help me get prepared for like everything that I should expect and, be ready.
When is your game?
I think it's August 20th.
Okay. Yeah, we will be back by then.
Okay.
So I will get all the tips. But I'm excited because Team USA, I'm like, this is a conglomerate of so many.
Yeah, that's gonna be so fun.
Teams.
It looked really fun watching it last night.
I know that Team USA versus All-Stars, and the All-Stars won.
Yeah.
I was like,
yeah,
dang. I mean, that did show Team USA has a little bit of work and but then it kind of gets us excited about the Olympics, and I don't know, there's just so much good things happening. And this is an Olympic themed interview that we have this week. Is that right?
Yes. So
continuing it.
Yeah, we are continuing that Olympic hype and have a conversation with Julie Derron on the show today. Julie is a Swiss triathlete and one you won't be able to help but root for her in Paris. She tells us about her journey to the Olympics, which started well before 2024, how she did some prep for the Olympics with some long course racing, actually. And we also chat about how triathlon has been a family affair because both of her sisters are also professional triathletes as well. We will hear from Julie on all of this up next after a word from our sponsors. Hi, Julie. Welcome to the IronWomen podcast.
Hello, it's good to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
So last weekend, you won Challenge Walsh C. It was a very secure win that you had there by over 10 minutes, I believe. And you closed that with a 1:12 half marathon run split. So on paper, it kind of looks like you had potentially like the perfect day, right? But those of us who race know that often paper doesn't tell the whole story. So how did it play out in person for you last weekend?
Yeah, of course. Well, firstly, thank you. It was a great race. It's really close to where I train at the moment. I'm based up in St. Moritz, so it was only like a 3.5-hour drive from here to Austria to race there. And yeah, as you said, it's never easy to win or never easy to finish a race like that. And it actually looks easier than it was because actually I didn't know I was leading until I got into the second transition, because there was actually a girl ahead of me, but at the time I didn't know, but she had a mechanical issue with her bike in the last 5K of the bike leg. So she lost a lot of time there and I didn't realize. And I was like, I was prepared to run hard when I got into T2 because I knew I would have probably about a gap of 5 minutes to make up. I was confident that I would manage, but I actually got into T2 and everyone was saying, oh, first woman. I was like, that's not true, actually. But then I heard the speaker say that, as I said, the leading girl, she had a mechanical issue and hasn't gotten back to T2 yet. So I was like, oh, okay, that's good. Like now I have a win easier in the bag, but I was actually also a bit sad that I couldn't chase her because it's always fun to try and chase someone down. As I said, I was confident that I would be a stronger runner and that I could make up those 5 minutes. But yeah, it wasn't an easy race for sure. And yeah, the 1:12 run split, it still surprised me as well. I know that the course was 400 meters short, so it might have been like 1:14 or something. But yeah, I'm really happy with my run form at the moment. That's for sure.
And Julie, this race came on the heels of a win that you had 3 weeks prior at Ironman 73 Switzerland. So was doing these races kind of, not back to back, but about 3 weeks apart, always your plan? Or did you kind of take it week by week to assess after Switzerland and you said, you know what, my form is still quite strong, I'm going to go for it?
Yeah, actually, well, maybe I have to backtrack a little bit. Actually, I'm focusing on short course at the moment. So I have the Olympics coming up in just over a month, which I qualified for my first Olympics. So that's obviously the big goal this year. And already back in maybe March, April, my coach and I decided that I might do 2 half Ironmans or just one before the Olympics, just to gain some strength and work on my bike and just the overall fitness. So I raced in Yokohama, and we decided that after Yokohama, I was safe enough in the rankings that I didn't need to go to Cagliari. So that freed up some time to race at home at 70.3 Rapperswil, which would give me a good boost at the beginning of this last block into the Olympics. And then, the Walchsee race, we always had it on the program, but we would decide, as you said, after Rapperswil, that it would still be good to do another hard half Ironman, because I wasn't happy with my bike performance in Rapperswil. So it really motivated me to do better at the next race, and I think I did that. So it's all part of the overall plan leading up to Paris.
Well, and we are going to talk about Paris quite a bit here coming up. So, to our listeners, don't think I'm not going to get into that, but saving that kind of for the second half, because I still want to dig into, your training and racing at the moment. I believe you were training under Brett Sutton with his squad, and I heard the post-race interview after this past weekend that Belinda Granger was giving, and most people would probably call it unconventional, but those who know Sutto's standards probably know it's quite conventional for those on his squad. A workout that you did just a few days prior to racing that half distance last weekend. So I believe that what was said was that was it the Thursday before the race, and the race was the race Sunday. You ran a track workout of 21 800s. And so again, for people who are familiar with kind of Brett Sutton's style of training, this would probably come as no surprise. I think that's one of his staple workouts for people, but can you tell our listeners, explain the workout a little bit more? We assume it's not completely all out 800. So kind of how is that structured in general? And then, mentally, well, answer that first, I guess. Then I'll ask some follow-up questions. Yeah.
Yeah, because those 2 races were my A races for the season. We didn't really do a big taper into it. So the whole week leading up to Walchsee, especially last weekend, was just normal training, really. And actually, the Sunday, so 1 week out of the race, we had a run session, and after the run session, Brett told me, so next Thursday, we'll do the 21 800s. You know them, I've talked to you about them, because Nicola Spirik, who used to train with Brett for a long time, she used to do that session. And I was like, you mean Tuesday, right? He's like, no, Thursday. Like, okay, but that's 4 days before the race. He said, yeah, no problem, right? I was like, for the first moment, I was like, yeah, maybe it is a problem, So the week before, I was like, I don't really want to know already what I'm going to do as a session on Thursday. But then I sort of forgot about it again. And then Thursday came around and we did the track session. So yeah, it's 21 times 800 meters fast. And for me, that was at 10K pace with a 200-meter recovery between. And I was really lucky to have 2 of my male teammates who had more of an easier run that day. They could pace me, so that was really helpful, especially because up in here in St. Moritz, it can be quite windy, especially on the track. So it was helpful to just turn off the brain and run behind the boys.
And so, how did you end up coming to terms with doing that workout? How did you, obviously, you're going to feel fatigue after that. You're doing normal training leading into the race. So, what do you do mentally to kind of prepare and get yourself psyched to still go 100% on race day and believe that you have what it takes to win?
Yeah, actually, after that race or after that track session, we had an easier day, like easier afternoon, obviously, and then travel day on Friday and just a normal, usually quite chill pre-race day on Saturday. So I still had 2 days to recover from that session until race day. And yeah, I think racing in Rapperswil and racing really well gave me a lot of confidence going into the next race. So yeah, I think it helps to just try and stay in the moment. It's Thursday, and on Thursday we do this session, and then on Friday we worry about Friday. So just not to look too far ahead. I think that helps a lot mentally. Also within the session, I mean, 21 800s is quite a long session, so you really just have to focus on what one rep after the next. And I think that's also really helpful leading into a race, just to focus on what you can do, and also in a race just to try and stay in the moment. And if something good happens, you take it, and if something doesn't quite work as you want it to in a race or in training, just think about it and then put it behind you and look ahead again.
And that, that 112 half marathon, I think, even if it was 400 meters short, it's on par with what you're doing, because you ran a 113, right, in Switzerland a few weeks before. And that was a big run PR for you in this distance of racing. And we rarely see women running that fast off the bike. I think Tamara Jewett is someone who comes to mind who has run a 112. I think she did at Oceanside. Ash Gentle, Emma Pallant-Brown, they're running 116s, 117s, right? But, breaking under that 115 barrier is huge. So what do you think finally came together? Is it that you've been kind of working on that strength run more? Or do you think it's the focus on short courses you've been prepping for, with Paris on the mind, that has boosted your speed?
Yeah, I think it's a lot of consistency. I had a bit injury like a year ago, so it just took me a long time to get back to my normal level. And then I think maybe at the beginning of this year, we could really start building onto the level I had before. I mean, before my injury, I already was a good runner, but I could really build on that. And I think it was just, many months or weeks of consistent running. We worked a lot on the speed, obviously, but also on staying at that speed. And I think, my type of athlete, the way I am, I can run at a speed and just keep it. So that's maybe also why I'm quite good at this, this distance. Obviously in Rapperswil, I also had a big gap after the bike. So I was really motivated to just go and take that lead, because it's a home race and you want to win. And once I had the lead, I knew that my coach wouldn't let me slow down, because we wanted to have a really hard training day. So I think it for me, once I get my rhythm, I can just keep running. Of course I get tired as well, but and so how I build up that run, I think it's been building over years, really. I mean, I've been working with Brett for 7 years now, I would say. And I mean, for the last 4 or 5 weeks, I've been doing the same sessions every week. Of course, the times have gotten faster, but the basic structure has stayed the same. So I think it's just, the consistency I could put into my running.
And one of the mailbag questions we get often into the podcast is our listeners who are curious about the pros who are doing these fast runs and kind of philosophies with what shoes they're wearing, what super, how often are you wearing carbon plated shoes? Are you wearing super shoes for racing and training? So do you have kind of your personal philosophy about when you're wearing them? Are you racing in them?
Yeah, of course, I'm racing in the carbon shoes, super shoes. I'm sponsored by On, so I'm running in the Cloudboom Echo 3 at the moment. I use them in all the races, and I use them in some of the harder track sessions. For example, also for the 800s, I would use them just to, because that's like also a race specific session. So of course, then it's good to do the session in in the shoes you're also racing in. But for my like longer runs or easier runs or build runs, I would use normal shoes.
Okay. I know that
I
they'll
hope
love
that
to,
helps.
yeah, they love to just have more input there, I think.
Yeah, of course. I think it's really individual. For example, sometimes because you hear that the carbon shoes would help you recover quicker. So when I have really like a speed session, which I know takes a lot out of my legs, I would also use the shoes because then it makes me believe maybe my legs won't be as destroyed after the session as they would be with different shoes. But that's just my beliefs. I don't have any data to back it up, but I think for everyone it's just to find out what works best for them, really. And also the type of shoes. I mean, I'm really happy with the On shoes, which is it's great, but I know that other people would maybe suit better to different shoes. So
Sure. No, I think that's great information for them to take into consideration. And now it's officially time to talk about the Olympics. So June has been a huge month for you. It was confirmed, I think, just a couple weeks ago that you will be racing in Paris in just over a month and for Switzerland. And so you were 8th at the Paris test event last summer. And so can you tell us a little bit about, for your country, what the process has been like since then and how the federation makes their selections?
Yeah, before, it's 2 years ago now. We have in short course, we have a qualification period of 2 years where you collect points for the Olympic ranking, and according to the Olympic ranking, the slots for the Olympic Games will be distributed amongst the countries. And then there's also the relay, so you can also qualify your country via the relay, and if you qualify your country with the relay, you would automatically get 2 slots for men and 2 slots for women. So that's what Switzerland did, and what we also aimed for at the beginning of the qualification period. And then so we got those 2 slots, and then our Swiss Olympic Committee and Swiss Triathlon Federation, they make criteria according to which they will select the athletes. And for us, it was, if you wanted to be sure and if you wanted to get selected for the individual race, you had to either do 2 top 8s at WTCS races, which also included the test event in Paris, or you could do 1 top 8 at a World Series race and a top 3 at European Championships. Within the last, I would say, 18 months. So not the whole 2 years, but within the last 18 months, more or less. So I managed to do 3 top 8s last year in the World Series. So I was quite confident that I would be selected, but we didn't have any automatic selection races or something like that. So I still had to wait until the end of the qualification period and then the whole process within the federation to confirm that I was selected. But about 2 or 3 weeks ago now, I got the call that I'm on the team, and I'm super excited about it. I'm really proud also that I made it happen.
Have your flights been booked? Everything set?
Yeah, well, we don't fly, we go by train because it's so close, you know, but, and for sustainability reasons and all that, but we go by train. It's been booked then. I look forward to it. We also had some information about the village and everything, and it's like, oh, this is getting real now, so that's pretty cool.
And I think, the Olympics have always been a goal for you. I believe that around 7 years ago when you started training with Brett, you guys had these 2024 Olympic Games in mind. And then it's, I believe that training was going so well, your form was looking good, that it actually, Tokyo kind of came into as a question for you. Like, could you get there earlier than 2024, right? So I think that qualification and pursuit was a bit more of a roller coaster. So can you tell our listeners kind of about what you went through a few years ago with Tokyo Olympics?
Yeah, I think it was special that, COVID happened. So obviously Tokyo was postponed for a year. And I think actually in that year, I made a lot of progress too, but I just lacked some consistency. And then exactly 1 year out from the games, I broke my shoulder blade. So that, yeah, obviously hindered me on progressing my swim, and put me back, threw me back in my swim form. And swimming has already been a bit of a weak spot for me, so that didn't really help. And then at the beginning of 2021, when it was still open who the second girl would be for Tokyo, I just didn't race good enough or consistently enough. And also because in Tokyo for the team relay, the girls would start. So we really needed a strong swimmer for the first leg at the relays in Tokyo. And I wasn't good enough at that point. So obviously I was really disappointed, but I kind of felt it in my heart that I wouldn't be enough what I did. I was selected as a reserve. Okay. I didn't travel to Tokyo, which I think was good because, from what I heard, Tokyo Olympics weren't the best experience probably, also for the reserve athletes especially. But I think, not making the team there just really put a fire into my belly to make sure I'm good enough to be selected for this one. Since I started training with Brett, yes, we had always had the Olympics in mind, but I think pretty early on he would tell me that I would be better suited for the long course. And after Tokyo, he said, "Oh, why don't you go long? Why don't you go long?" And I was like, yeah, but I still have this dream and I still believe I can make it to the Olympics and really perform at a high level. So we had some hard discussions, but in the end I said, no, I really want to commit for that. And yeah, I think it paid off.
It's so admirable because, it sounds like even if your coach is saying, you might be better suited for something else. And then, you were so close and you got to see firsthand through the Tokyo process of like how much you can work and how hard you can work to be so close. Right. And so did you ever have periods of doubt where you were like, maybe this is too much, right? To like rest everything on the Olympic dream?
Not too much. I think I've been doing triathlon for such a long time that it's just, and I enjoy it so much that it's no question for me that I will do triathlon. And I think when I didn't make Tokyo, I did my first 70.3 races in 2021, and I saw that I would be good at that too. So I always knew that I would have that in the back of my mind, and I could, you see it now all the time that people combine both, racing Olympic distance and also still doing really well in middle distance racing. So I think, of course, it wasn't easy it was sort of difficult also to go against my coach's advice and to really tell him like no. But once I told him, he's like, okay, I respect your decision. I also believe in you. Let's go for it. So I think once we had that final discussion and made the decision, I think then the path was clear. And I still, I made a lot of progress, but I still believe I can get it so much better. So that's just really motivating as well. And then to see the success and also see how I improved, especially in the World Series races, that just motivates me to work harder and close the gap to the front.
Yeah, I think that's great.
And I think it's not easy every day. Yeah. Of course it's not.
I think, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but perhaps one of the reasons that you do draw strength in the process and kind of keep plugging away is potentially your family. So your sister Nina is 4 years older. She's also a professional triathlete. She was actually right behind you at Switzerland 70.3 this last month. We're going to have to get her on IronWomen coming up as well.
She'd love that for sure.
I believe that your other sister, Michelle, has also raced professionally. So it's no doubt that it's a family affair. So do you think that has been a part of like the strength that you draw to be chasing this dream that's so fragile for so many people, that you have kind of a support system within, family to be helping you along?
Yeah, for sure. Now this past month that I've been in St. Moritz already, my sister Nina has been here with me and we train together sometimes, but we mainly live together. And it's just a really big help because she knows exactly what I'm going through, what I need in some moments, if I need some cheering up or some motivating or to, just tell me good job after a session, or that I can have tell her how my session went or whatever, and she exactly knows what I'm talking about. So I think that helps a lot, because sometimes, yeah, elite sports can be a bit lonely because you're so selfish in some ways. So it's really helpful to have someone really close that I also really like along with me for the ride, and just to share the experiences with. And I think, yeah, since when we started triathlon as a family. And for me, it's always been about chasing my older sisters. They would do a race, and then when we were little, they would win a scooter or a helmet. And I would be like, oh, that's really cool. I want to win that too, So I would always have someone to chase. And I think that's really helped me to get to where I am. And once I started, being as good as them or beating them, it would be like, oh, that's really cool. Now I need to stay ahead of them, because they're motivated by what I'm doing. So it's really helpful to have each other to lean on, but also to push each other.
Has it ever been not so fun competing against family? Like, have there been times when you both are doing a race and it really feels like kind of, extra stress because your sister's on the line against you?
We've discussed this the other day, actually, and I always enjoy racing with Nina. I don't know, maybe because it's usually about the half distances, and for me, the half distances, the races, they carry less pressure for me at the moment, because I can always say, well, actually, I focus on short course, so this is not my main race, So I usually really enjoy racing with Nina, because then I can do, like, maybe joke around a bit before the race, or just like discuss everything about the race if I have questions. And also, she's a lot more experienced at this distance, so I would be the one asking her which bag it goes where, and the blue bag for the bike and the red bag for the run, so these kind of things. I think for me, it's always really fun to have the family around.
Yeah, I guess we'll get her side of it when we do have her on now.
Yeah, you'll have to ask her how much she enjoys racing with me.
I think my older sister would have some words differently about it. So yeah.
But then again, in Ropersville, I was already in the finish, and then I knew Nina was really close to third. And then they were running together. So I was at the finish line, and I was almost more nervous about her finishing third or fourth than I was about my own race, because there you can't influence. And I really want her to perform well as well, because I know how hard she works and how much she would deserve the success as well. So, yeah.
And I read that you first, kind of saw triathlon through watching or doing, I guess, maybe participating in the Iron Kids race for Ironman Zurich. And so, was that true? And, is it common for 3 young kids to pick up triathlon, with your upbringing? Was your parents kind of encouraging the sport? Were they triathletes? Because I do feel like 3 sisters all doing triathlon pretty competitively is quite unique.
Yeah, actually, my parents also have done triathlon. They're not doing races anymore, but they did Ironman back in the days when it was still in Zurich. So Ironman Switzerland was in Zurich, where I'm from, so my hometown, for a really long time. And along with the elite or the full Ironman race, they had a kids triathlon. And I think my parents were at a point where they were getting more and more active, and they wanted us to be active as well. And they saw the triathlon. We were always arguing whether my sisters did triathlon first or my parents did it first. So I think it's around the same time that they picked it up, and then as they were doing it, they probably saw that it was a kids race as well, so they would enter my sisters. And so, yeah, of course, my sisters, because they're older, they would do triathlon first, but then because they did it, my parents would enter me as well, because it's easy to have all 3 kids do the same sport. Because if then one of us would do belay, they would have to drive us to belay or whatever. So we started there, and then at some point, I think it made sense that we would enter a triathlon club, and then we entered a youth triathlon club, and from there it just took off, and we could do like camps and trainings more regularly. And yeah, it definitely was my parents that entered us, but they would never put pressure on my sisters and me to become professionals. I mean, we would never have thought that one of us would go to the Olympics at some point. We were doing it to be active, to do something as a family. We would also go on bike rides on the weekends or on our holidays to do something active as a family. And only later it got more competitive, and now professional.
And so I think, the timeline I think was that Nina joined Brett Sutton's squad, and then 7 years ago you kind of joined her there. And I think that he made you and you spoke a little bit about this, kind of an apprentice of sorts with 2012 Olympic champion Nicola Spirig. And so what was that relationship like? Like, were you kind of just following her around, doing her training with her, like how did that kind of shake out? And did you, like what kind of a dynamic do you have with her?
Yeah, well, actually, firstly, it was our middle sister, Michelle, that first started working with Brett. She was really good at the junior level, and Brett was getting more involved in triathlon in Switzerland. Of course, because of Nicola. And so he saw her and thought, oh, she could be the next Swiss athlete. And then I followed because Michelle had already been with Brett for a year or two. And I was coming out of the junior ranks and thought it might be good to have a coaching change. And I saw what Michelle was doing, and it was intimidating at first, but I saw that it was going to be a successful environment. And I was the apprentice to Nicola. Of course, I didn't start doing all her sessions or everything with her, but I could do some of her sessions and just, sort of tag along and see how she's doing it. I think in our group, it's a lot about leading by example, or just being in the group and seeing what the other athletes are doing, or maybe, seeing how they behave, or what, how they approach a training. So I could see firsthand what Nicola was doing and join for some sessions, be killed by her into many sessions as well. I think now I would be at the level where we could maybe do all the sessions together and challenge each other. But obviously she's retired now, but Brett still sends on sessions that I do, so she still knows where I'm going. But I think it was really helpful to see what she's doing, and she would also be really forthcoming with giving advice whenever I had questions. And it's nice because now that I'm an on athlete and Nicola is also working for on, I'm still I still work with her in some way and can still rely on her with advice and everything.
Are there any qualities that she had or lessons that you learned specifically from getting to watch her and how she carried herself through her training?
Yeah, I think because especially at the end of her career, she had so many things to juggle, her family, her foundation, whatever else she was doing in her training. And I mean, until the end of her career, she was really, really good still. So I think what was really impressive was how she managed to compartmentalize everything. Like when she was in the session, she was there 100% and focused 100%. She wasn't thinking about her kids, or it didn't seem like it. She could really like focus on what she was doing now. I think that's something you could see really well when you watched her in training, and just her commitment and focus on the sessions and on giving her best every day.
And so, now we are just about a month or so, a little bit more out from the Olympic Games. You mentioned that you kind of did a strength block here, but then, 4 weeks to go isn't too much of a time. So do you have any idea of like how training is going to switch up for you, or what it will look like in these next few weeks?
Yeah, I'm actually, the next race I'm doing is a super sprint. So we're going short now to work on the speed stuff. And I'll also be racing the mixed team relay world championships in Hamburg to just get a last short part hit out. But I think until the Olympics, the training won't change too much. We just want to keep it consistent, keep working, and just keep building up. I leave all the training and all the masterminding about training up to Brett, because I trust his training, and I know that he by now knows me really well and knows what I will need to be on my A game come Paris.
Yeah, we'll have to find out. We'll have to talk to you after the Olympics to find out if you did 21,800s 4 days before the Olympics or not.
We'll see.
And then have you given any thought to, life after the Olympics? I mean, not many short course athletes have. Some have certainly dabbled in kind of the non-draft longer course racing, middle distance stuff, but you've even done an Ironman in recent years. So, and it sounds like your coach thinks that the longer stuff will suit you. So have you given thought about kind of the direction your career will take after this, or are you just focused on Paris right now and we will have to chat again to find that out?
Yeah, I mean, I'm really focused on Paris now. I want to do the best job I can there in the individual and the team race. I think we have a really good team as well. And I think I've showed that I'll be competitive in Paris. So I don't have exact plans for after the Olympics. I have a few ideas, and I mean, at this moment, there's so many races to choose from in triathlon. You can do so many different series, different formats, and it's just a really good time to be an athlete in triathlon. There's obviously a few races that I would like to do. Last year I did the Laguna Phuket triathlon and I came second, so I would love to go back and win the race. And then there's also a World Series race in China in Weihai, and I trained in China for the first 4 months of this year, so it feels like a bit of a home race if I could go there, because I also trained a lot with the Chinese team, so it would be really nice to race there. So there's a lot of races still to choose from. Of course, I would also like to focus more on the middle distance non-drafting racing. Also race on a time trial bike for a change, because so far I've always raced on my road bike with clip-on bars, so that would be a really big adjustment as well. But that would really tempt me too. So a lot of ideas. I think I would definitely test the longer course stuff in the coming years, but you never know if then I would come back for LA Olympics. Yeah.
Oh man. Well, whatever you choose to do, I think your strengths, seem to span the spectrum, which is really exciting. But I do love there's, more women now kind of dabbling between the two and not getting on a time trial bike just yet. I think that's it's super exciting to kind of think of that potential for when your focus does shift to there. So
yeah, for sure. I mean, I've had many people ask me why I don't ride a time trial bike. I mean, at least 2 years ago, I didn't even own one, so I couldn't race on a time trial bike. Now I have one, but it's just, I believe that it takes a lot of getting used to the different position on the bike to really also learn how to push hard in that position. And with the focus being the Olympics, it just didn't seem to make sense to invest so much time into getting used to a new bike before the Olympic Games, because I need to be super comfortable on my road bike to do the best job on the bike in Paris.
And to feel confident, I guess, with your run form coming off of the bike, right? And to not switch up too much prior to that.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Yeah, even within like the 3 weeks between Rapperswil and Walchsee, I got more comfortable on my clip-on bars. So it took a lot of time also to get used to that. So I can only imagine how much different it will be on a TT bike.
Yeah, it will be different, but I think you will be dangerous on it once you get that strength built. Yeah.
Thank you.
But Julie, thanks so much for taking time, so close to the Olympics to tell us about your journey so far. And we will most definitely be cheering for you in Paris.
Thank you so much for having me. That was fun.
So Haley, Julie and I chatted a little bit about her sisters who are professional triathletes. One of them is Nina Derron, who raced today in Lake Placid. And she was, checking my notes, 5th, I believe. And she sixth. And we're counting. Yes. Okay. 6th place today in Lake Placid. And Haley, because some of the women above her already had their Kona qualifications, Nina is walking away from Lake Placid. I assume she's taking that Kona spot because I know when I talked to Julie, she said that Nina had raced Ironman France earlier in the summer, trying to get the Kona spot. And when she was 1 spot away there. So she was like, I'll travel to Lake Placid and race there. So I'm super excited to hear. You always like it when someone's chasing those spots. So, I'll probably be reaching out to Nina and we'll have to get her on the show too. I love that the sisters are all professional triathletes.
That is very cool. Congratulations to Nina. Best of luck to Julie. We're going to keep going. We have this weekend, we have T100. A couple days later, we get the Olympics, then the Olympic relay. And then it's like full steam ahead to Nice, basically, right?
Yeah.
So much exciting things, but congratulations to Nina. And again, everyone else who raced in Placid. Very, very cool today.
All right, Haley, good luck in London. We is all of the listener base of the Feisty podcast. We'll be cheering hard for you from the USA. And I can't wait to hear all about it once you're back.
Okay. Thanks, Alyssa. Have a great break. I'll talk to you soon. You've been listening to the IronWomen podcast hosted by Haley Chura and Alyssa Godesky.
IronWomen is a production of Feisty Media and is edited by Lydia Russell and produced by Ella Natishan.
Head to livefeisty.com to find more podcasts, stories, and fresh perspectives.
Thanks for listening.